And I'm, and then I'm going to wrap up with just a quick outline of the structure of how you should go about looking for a board seat, because I think there are some new faces here and some people that perhaps haven't been through the whole program. But for those who have, I want to start by saying everything that we've been doing so far has been obviously working toward you being prepared to go out and seek out board seats. But today is all about, and actually last week as well was all about taking, and last month, sorry, was all about taking action. But this session is all about really setting goals so that you ensure you take that action. Because again, we can write things down and we can say we're going to do things, but I know what happens. Life gets in the way, right? It's normal. I understand. But if you set yourself some small goals, you'll be surprised how far you'll get. So get your pen and paper ready because you're going to need to write these down. Okay. So let's start out by talking about what kind of goals should you be setting. So there are goals, and then I'll do a little as a self-evaluation at the end as well. So I want you to write this down. How many people are you going to meet with per month to have a discussion about your board career? So you're going to get busy. It's September. You're going to get busy October, November, December. If you've got a job and it's high pressure and you do a lot of work and you spend a lot of hours, just say one person a month. It doesn't have to be a lot. If you are not working, or you're retired, or you just do some sort of small consulting gigs on the side, maybe it's one person a week. Okay. But give yourself a target. Say, this is the number of people that I will be meeting with per month to talk about my board career. And we'll go over what to say a little later. I'll do a very quick review. When will I make outreach to my first contact? I think I put August in there because I did the last one in August. But when is it? Is it September? Is it now? Right? When will I make the first outreach? When is the first time I'm going to make contact with someone about my board career? Put a date in there. If it's November, if it's January, that's fine. But make yourself a promise about when you're going to make outreach. When will you feel ready? Okay, and we've been through all the sort of board readiness pieces throughout the sort of spring and the summer. But make yourself a goal. And by the way, if any of you have like a whiteboard like this one behind me, or you have something where you can see it, stick it on the fridge, say, I'm going to make my first outreach in when and how many people am I going to meet with per month. 3 more goals that you want to set. What do I need to do to get started? List your action plan. Okay. Now, during these sessions, we went through a lot of things. We went through understanding which boards are right for us. We went through what are the roles and responsibilities of those board members. We went through the bio and the verbal kind of value proposition. We went through LinkedIn. Now, what do you need? Your network. You need to identify people. Remember, when you have that exchange, that one-to-one exchange, you want to make sure you're helping the other person more than requesting help. What do you need to get started? Okay. What is it that's missing? Because whatever's missing is going to be holding you back. Okay. But just be honest with yourself. When do I want my first interview, and when do I want to be on my first board or the next board? Okay. Write these down. Even if it's June of 2026, that's okay. Set yourself a goal, set yourself a time frame. It's so important. Okay, and then when do I want to be on my first board? Again, sometimes some boards, they take a long time to recruit people onto their boards. Others, it's really fast. So I don't know. Depends on what kind of board you want to join. Depends on what kind of organization it is. Okay. So set these goals, set yourself up for success. Now what I'd like you to do is a self-evaluation. And I want you to be really honest with yourselves, because you can sit through these programs or you can sit through these meetings and then walk away and go, you know what, I'm just not confident. But if you're not confident, Say so and then say why. Which part of the process are you not confident about? Is it what you say and how you say it? Is it perhaps going to be your bio or your LinkedIn? Do you, oh, my LinkedIn's not quite there yet. And if it's something small like that, doesn't take very long to to re, you know, re to correct it and to move on. So how are you feeling? Do you feel good about your next steps? What's missing? And finally, do you have any concerns? What are your concerns? They could be valid. You could say, well, I'm afraid that if I go and talk to my network, they'll just laugh at me. That they're not going to think I'm serious about being on a board. I doubt that's the case. But if it's something like that, well, what will they be? What are you going to say? Let's go through what you're going to say again. Let's practice that. Let's get that right. And remember, these one-to-one meetings are not for you to sell yourself, pitch yourself, um, do any kind of, desperate begging for board seats. This is about you showing up and putting your best foot forward and talking about where you want to be in 2026 and what your plan is, because you have a plan, right? So again, do you have a plan? That would be a question for a lot of you. For those of you who have been sitting through these meetings, you probably have built a little bit of a plan here. But for those who haven't, there's definitely a plan that's needed to get started. Okay. Now, because there's quite a few people here who haven't been here before, I'm going to give you all some time to go through this evaluation and write some things down. And then I'm going to go, and if anyone would like to talk about theirs and shout out about what perhaps there's missing, or do they feel confident, any concerns, if you could share it with the group, either via chat or just, we can just talk about it. But let me go through really quickly here, just an overview of some of the things that we've been talking about, because I think that would be helpful for everyone to just get an update. And so the first thing that we talked about way back in April and May was, what kind of board do you even want to join, right? Is it and what's the right fit for you? Okay, you cannot take the next step until you figured this out. So is it a private equity backed board? Is it a publicly traded company? Is it an advisory board, right? Or are you right at the beginning? Are you thinking it's more of a nonprofit board? Either way, you have to analyze what is the right fit for you and what's the benefit, right? What is the long-term goal? Second step, what are the roles and responsibilities and what do you bring to these boards? You've got the Rolodex here. Are you the money person? Do you raise funds? Are you mergers, acquisitions? Are you manufacturing? What's your area of expertise? What do you bring to these boards? And I think we listed those out. We did the value proposition. Obviously, that comes across in all of your written materials. But being able to actually voice your value proposition on a call, in a meeting, at any time, that's the difference between whether you'll be successful or not. And I think when we discussed it, these are a couple of items that I had written down. One is, you don't need to tell your whole life story. We talked about that. You only need to talk about the things that are relevant to those boards. So get very laser focused. Ask more questions, right? You don't need to talk as much, just ask more questions. And ask them questions about their business. Hey, how is business? How's it going? What challenges are you facing? Oh, we're seeing this on our side. What are you seeing? Okay. So think about having more of a conversation with people rather than a sort of, let me tell you all about my resume. Okay. Somewhere in June or July, I think we did the personal brand piece. So do you have your documentation? Do you have a bio that you're proud of that reflects who you are in the right way? Or do you have a board resume or an executive resume? Either way, do you have paperwork? So if someone says, hey, I've just met with you, we've had a great conversation, hey, send me something. You don't say, well, let me, give me a month and I'll send it to you, right? We got to get in there quickly. LinkedIn. I think we had a good conversation about LinkedIn, a long conversation about LinkedIn, about how before I meet anybody, I go to LinkedIn. I think everybody does the same thing. So it's that first impression, right, that someone's going to have. So is your LinkedIn optimized? Does it represent you in the right way? If someone were to meet you, would they think, wow, they'd look at your LinkedIn and say, wow, that person's got board experience and they're, I can see what they would do on a board. So when they meet you, they they've got the same they get the same branding essentially. Over here, what you say and how you say it, executive presence, what you wear, and the confidence here in the bottom left-hand corner. All of these things contribute, you know, to the conversations you're going to have and your likelihood of getting onto a board. If you don't bring the executive presence and you don't speak well, the chances of you being invited onto boards could just be lower. And it depends on the board, I guess. And it depends on the person, but you have to show up. You have to be consistent too. So aligning your personal brand with where you're going. And then in our last meeting, we talked about assembling your network, looking at who do you know, and I think I provided some guidance there on what types of people might be a good fit. But for example, in the top left corner here, we've got people helping each other. That was a big piece, right? A big piece of when we meet someone, how do we help each other? How do I help them first, even, right? That kind of sets the tone. And, somebody should never leave a meeting with you thinking, wow, all the energy has just been sucked out of me. They just wanted everything from me and I got nothing in return. So it should be a two-way street. What about that one-to-many approach that I talked about? The one-to-many approach is where one person may be able to get you to, or may be able to put you in front of lots of opportunities. We talked about investment bankers, management consultants, accountants, even corporate lawyers, and sometimes search firms, if that is the area, like those boards are covered by search. They're not all covered by search. So think about who you're meeting with and, you know, what kind of networks they have, but also don't judge a book by its cover, okay? Because some people have just been chatting with an old friend or speaking to someone that they went to college with years ago and they catch up for a drink and suddenly the conversation turns because they tell the other person that they are actively seeking a corporate board. And when you speak to your network, just over here, it's very important about what you say and how you say it and the confidence that you bring to those conversations. So make sure that your language is that board level language. Okay. And to wrap up, take action, right? Execute the plan. And this picture of the coffee, right? This is the one-to-one meeting that you want to have with people. It's not going to a big event and telling hundreds of people in 5 seconds about the fact that you want to join a board. It's really developing that relationship, spending time with someone to talk to them about your board career, and sharing and finding out about their future and what they want to do. Okay. So a quick recap of everything that we have done. Obviously, this was a very short and fast version of it. But I wanted to open it up to the group. Let's go back to those goals that we have. An evaluation. How am I feeling? Do I feel confident? And what is missing? Would anyone like to share theirs, especially those who have been here? Would anyone like to take us through some of those and comment on what their goals might be? Did somebody put something in the chat?
I will say that I know Laura Patterson has been with us almost the entire last 6 months. And so, Laura, I don't know if you're able to come off mute and join us, but I know you
Here.
probably have a lot to offer.
Well, I don't have a lot to offer, and hello everyone, and wish everybody all the best on this journey because I've been on it for a while, and I have to tell you, Naomi has been amazing, and she was extraordinarily helpful in looking at my board bio and giving me some feedback. So I know that she offers a little bit of consulting, so I want to encourage you to think about that. You have to do some work first, though, otherwise you want to use your time with Naomi wisely. But I am in pursuit and have been actively pursuing a corporate board opportunity with either a privately held or PE-backed mid-market B2B manufacturing or technology company. I have reached out to people locally. I am a member of the Private Directors Association. I serve on a committee for them. I'm on some other nonprofit boards, but this is sort of something I'm going after. And I have to admit, Naomi, I'm a little frustrated because I've been pursuing it for a while, but I'm hoping by first quarter of next year I am on a board and I'd like to have an interview before the end of this year, maybe in November. I know the holidays always create challenges for people's schedules, so I may be a little bit too aggressive. Uh, I'm working on making a few adjustments to my LinkedIn, but I need to wait because for those of you who don't know, I haven't been part of LeadHERship Global, which Linda is amazing. If you're not a member, I hope you'll think about that. But earlier this year, separate from this conversation, Linda had someone come on and talk about knowledge panels. And so in addition to pursuing and updating your LinkedIn, people often go and check out your and Google and search you on Google. So a knowledge panel is really helpful. And I have been working with someone to get the knowledge panel because Laura Patterson's are a dime a dozen. And therefore, it's taking some effort. So I can't touch my LinkedIn until I get on the other side of that, but it is on top of mind. So that's some of the things that I've been doing. And I hope that's helpful thoughts for some of you. Um, anyway, does that answer some questions? Linda, is there anything else?
Yeah. Naomi, any thoughts or any comments on it, Laura's journey? And then we'll hop over to Sarah.
Yeah, so what I liked, and I think you all heard, is where Laura actually said, these are the types of boards. You hear how specific it is, right? It just makes it a lot easier for her network to then say, oh, I know someone in a manufacturing firm, or I know someone in a technology business, or I know someone who works with companies of that size, right? Going too broad in your board career is problematic because it just people cannot sort of understand or they can't get the scope. Well, I could be on any private company, I could be on any public company. I mean, it's just not possible for a start. So it shows that you really don't understand the space. But it also doesn't help me because I know lots of people at private companies, but now that you've said it in that way, right now I'm thinking now I'll remember you. So being very specific. Another comment you made was that you've been going at this for a long time. For everyone on this call, it can take a long time. 2 years, 3 years. It can take time. You've got to stick with it. That's why the goal setting and sticking with meeting people on a regular basis is so important. And I don't know anyone who has not given, they don't people who give up are definitely not getting on a board, right? But you just don't give up. And sometimes an opportunity will present itself, and you may look at it and you may think, well, this isn't quite the opportunity I was hoping for, but it may open doors to other opportunities. And so sometimes you have to be open also to something that is perhaps an advisory board, or perhaps being on a board of a much smaller company and then working your way up from there. So getting the experience is really important. But again, it does take time. It really does. And then finally, obviously, the LinkedIn, making sure that the LinkedIn is up to date. And I actually think that it's a very, very important piece of your brand, just because it's seen, I think, a lot more frequently than a bio will ever be seen, right? So the LinkedIn really has to represent you because it's the first impression most of the time that people have. So thank you for sharing that. I think it's very good to just reiterate some of those thoughts. Sarah, you have your hand raised.
Sure. I thank you so much and very nice to meet you. And I just sent you a connection request on LinkedIn. So really quick, Linda, thank you for putting this on. Laura, if I may ask, is this your first board opportunity that you're seeking? Did you have something in the past? Because, I think of previous trajectory and then a lot of people obviously sitting on nonprofit boards as maybe a starting point and then moving up to that. So I'm curious if that's something that you've.
Great question, Sarah. Yes, I have sat on nonprofit boards. I have
Okay,
not ever sat on outside of family-owned companies where I am a member of the board. I have never sat on as an independent board director for a for-profit company. So
got
that's
it.
my next step I'm hoping to make.
Absolutely great. Thank you so much. I'm in the same boat. And then really quick story time. We were interviewing for a chief operating officer in a private equity company in my last organization, and it was not the right time for the specific background, but 3 months later, I was asked to basically bring him on as a board member. And so he is now still sitting on that board. And I think it's a pretty powerful testament to what, Naomi just explained in terms of sometimes it can lead to other opportunities. And so it's really sometimes through ways we're not maybe thinking about it like that. And it just kind of goes back to that relationship management because he handled the no for the chief operating officer position really well, and stayed in touch and continued to network with us, which I thought was a pretty powerful and interesting approach and a very fine balance between being too in your face. It's a balancing act because you don't want to disappear, but you also don't want to bombard. And to this day, he's doing a really good job there. So, but thank you, Laura, for sharing and being open about that. I'm gonna root for you.
Let me jump on a couple of things here. So, never burn a bridge is actually a very, very good piece of advice. I knew a board director, and she got on a board, and it was through a contact from a company that had actually rejected her. So a company rejected her for a board seat. She was very polite, very nice, and they had a great relationship. And she said, "Oh, thank you," and appreciated everything and appreciated the process. And then a couple of years later, one of the nomination committee that was on that board said, "Actually, I remember you, and I'd like you to be put forward for another board seat." And she got the board seat. So never burn a bridge is actually a very good piece of advice that I'll just reiterate there. You touched, Sarah, on non-profit boards. Let me do a quick pitch about non-profit boards from my perspective and from the perspective of people that I work with. I think you should choose wisely when you choose a non-profit board. You should take three things into consideration. One, is the non-profit board am I passionate about this nonprofit? Am I passionate about what they do? Is it a cause I care about? If you don't care about it, you're not going to be that excited about it. It'll get boring very quickly. Number two, is it on brand? In other words, if you work in the financial services industry, and this is a nonprofit that gives, financial literacy to underserved communities, that there's a connection there, right? It's on brand. So think about, is it on brand? Some industry associations are great things. But the third one, and the most important thing, is who else is on that board? And would you be proud to sit around a boardroom table with them? And if any of those is a no, don't join that board. Okay. It will not be a good experience for you. You want to be sitting around a boardroom table with people at a nonprofit that you absolutely adore and admire. And they're people that are, 10 steps ahead of you. And also something that's important to you and that actually makes sense for your career. Now, if you check all those three boxes and join that nonprofit, there are and will be, I'm sure, opportunities for you to join corporate boards, potentially through some of the people that sit on that board. And again, I have lots and lots of clients who I've said to them, "Oh, you sit on, a nonprofit board. When was the last time you had a one-to-one meeting with someone on that nonprofit board. And often they go, yeah, I haven't had one in years, right? I just don't do it. I just show up to the board meetings. I, contribute and donate and walk away, right? That's a waste. If you're using not using your nonprofit for its relationships, then it's definitely a waste. So spend the time to do a one-to-one meeting with everybody on your nonprofit board to really get to know them, and then to tell them, hey, do you know I'm actively pursuing corporate boards in 2026? Yes, here's my plan. This is what I want to do. So nonprofit boards, I don't think you should sit on more than one. I think, first of all, it's very distracting. You're going to be spread too thin and you'll end up getting distracted. And if you want to serve on a corporate board, it's work, right? So if you've got 3 nonprofit boards and you've got a job and you're trying to get on a corporate board, something is going to get pushed to the side. It'll probably be your corporate board career. So make a decision which one is the most beneficial. And of course, another thing, when you're talking about your nonprofit board experience, talk about the interesting things that have happened on that nonprofit board that almost very similar to a corporate board. So a finance committee, an audit committee, any kind of merger, a CEO succession, anything that's happened that speaks to something a corporate board would do. But I would never lead with nonprofit boards. I would never say, oh, let me tell you all about my board experience. Well, I serve on, 4 nonprofit boards and I've been on 10 nonprofit boards. I would start out with, what is the corporate board experience? So have you been in a corporate boardroom? Have you presented to corporate boards? Have you been an executive on a board? Then I would go to things like advisory boards and things like that. And then I would talk about nonprofits. So it's not that they're not important. The governance is important. But unfortunately, what happens in a nonprofit boardroom is not really what happens in a corporate boardroom. They're very, very different. And so trying to create the connection between the two just shows that you don't understand the corporate boardroom, which again is another bad sign, which you don't want people to have. So I love nonprofit boards. I think they're great. But would I recommend someone join 4 and talk all about them? No, I wouldn't do that. Valerie, go ahead. I saw you you actually raised your real hand there as well.
I know, I'm sorry, I'm being human.
No, that's good.
Hi, everyone. It's great to see you. And some of you are colleagues of mine, and it's wonderful to see you. And hi, Linda. So beautiful to see you always. And Naomi. Laura, I just wanted to say something and say something to you all. You said you were a dime a dozen. You're not a dime a dozen. But unless you shine out like a shiny penny, the boards aren't going to see you. And so
no, I meant my name is a dime a dozen, Valerie.
No, but you know what I say? Yeah, I say this because I will share this story. And Naomi and I are going to be on a panel together at the PDA, the Private Directors Association annual conference. So here's why I think what you need to do to stand out like a shiny penny. Be present at things. So that annual conference, if you're a Private Directors Association member, oh my gosh, there's no better opportunity than to meet hundreds of other board directors and great content and great speakers than to be at that conference. And the reason I say that is because I'm on the board of Private Directors Association. I am not going to be running for re-election this year. I've had the longest the longest term. I'm not running for re-election because now I'm looking for 2 boards because my bandwidth has expanded. There's been some changes in my life, so my bandwidth, I've dropped off a couple boards. I've rolled off of them, finished my terms. So I'm going to be looking for, like you, a mid-cap public board in healthcare, biotech, and a mid to larger private company board in any sector. But here's the thing. Guess where my board opportunities came from that I actually got on boards? Not from PDA. You don't join an organization to get you on a board. That's up to you. We have to get ourselves on boards. But by being present at those opportunities, I received an opportunity to interview for a board and I made it to the finals. I didn't make it to the board, but I still have a great relationship with this company because I spoke at last year's Private Directors Association meeting. Okay, the annual conference. And someone approached me at that meeting who happened to be a CEO. And so I offered to help them find board members. It wasn't transactional. I was going to help them. But in the helping, several meetings later, they said, we want you to be a candidate. And I said, well, great, sure. And was I disappointed that I didn't get it? Heck yeah. It's hard for me It's hard for me to get on boards, right? I work at it. But then other opportunities came from attending PDA, and I'm a member of a lot of different organizations, Latino Corporate Directors Association, On Board, Him for Her, 50/50 Women on Boards, How Women Lead. A lot of them you can be on for free, a lot you have to pay. But the bottom line is getting involved so people get to know you and your brand is super important. And if you're not involved, I mean, I just sent all of you a LinkedIn connection while we were on this, and all of you received it because a lot of you are connecting with me. You should have sent those to me, right? Anyways, but only kidding. But be present, because from attending other chapter meetings with Private Directors Association and getting to know other people, they then networked with me one-on-one, and I actually got on one of my boards because someone introduced me to a CEO that way. So these
Right.
organizations are wonderful because they provide you access to board directors. And actually, Laura or Sarah, I'm not sure, one of you, Sarah, I just looked at our mutual connections. You're connected with, oh, Trisha Ben, CEO Network.
Yeah.
Do you go to the Friday night things, Fridays
Yes.
at 5 o'clock? I mean,
Yes.
it's
I'm
a
going to the mixer tomorrow to get.
phenomenal opportunity to network. So
Yeah,
yeah, I mean, it's a lot of work to get on a board, guys. It's a lot of work,
it
right?
is. It
But being
absolutely
present
is.
is so important.
No, I love it. And your presence, I think, and to your point, speaking engagements, right? Getting out there, having those conversations, getting visible. We also talked about posting on LinkedIn in some previous sessions, right? And getting the right message out. So making sure it's board level topics that you're talking about, board level language that you're using. But let me just go back to the networking piece. I still think that there is a lot of value, a lot more value, possibly even, in reconnecting with people that have known you for a long time. You know, those, and actually, I think board members are great. You're going to learn a lot being around board members, but I don't know. I was if anyone else has been in a recruiter, I'd love to hear your thoughts, but I worked at a recruiting firm for a few years, and we only got calls from the CEOs of the companies, public, private, you name it, saying, "Hey, I need to we need a new board member." So the CEO made the first decision. They made the first point of call. It was not someone who sat on the board. They found out after the fact. So then the CEO possibly got some candidates and then presented them to the board. I'm not saying that happens all the time, but boy, it happened a lot when I was there, and it was quite an eye-opening experience. So Laura, we've talked about this before, and others. Look at the executives, current sitting executives. Valerie even said she got the opportunity through a CEO. They are making the decisions, and they are looking and watching and seeing what's not working. So sometimes when you think about your network, you have to think a little bit differently. It is not just the board members that help board members get onto boards. In fact, doesn't always happen because of governance and other things. If I'm on a board, I can't go, hey, I've got my buddy Joe over here. Can I bring him onto the board with me? It'd be great if he could. I think he'd be a great fit. CEO's going to go, no way. What, you and Joe teaming up together and voting together? And no, that's not happening, right? So there's some discipline and standards there on boards that board members have to be very careful of. And so sometimes those networks should extend to some of those executives. Anyone else want to talk about their goals? What's holding them back? Anything that they haven't done yet that they need to do? I might pick on someone if nobody says anything. Anna, I know you've been sitting on these calls for a few times in the last few months. Is there anything that you're worried about? Anything that needs to be done? Anything that needs to happen to get it going?
Thank you for calling out my name. Yes, I think I feel a bit odd here. First, because of the time zone, because I'm located in Europe. Second is that I am only beginning. I'm only beginning, and my latest milestone maybe give me a pretty strong background already, because I have been certified by state for supervisory boards, for state entities. And it's quite an quite a good achievement, let's put it this way, because only few tens people a year get this certification, so pretty good one. And now biggest challenge now is to be to present myself, to be seen, to show the blend of my previous experience and latest, let's say, training, membership, certifications, etc., to show up as a competent, at the beginning, advisor, a person worth to be near to, let's put it this way, and worth to invite, and then come through as a person who might be a value and will be valuable board member. So I think that my mindset is slowly shifting. I know that following the question that you've given, Naomi, is like, what are my first activities? Where do I start, etc. I think I'm getting into clear path now, but not perfect yet. Let's put it this way. I know it's going to be quite a long journey for me, especially switching mindset.
Mm-hmm.
Really.
Yeah, good.
So
Oh, well,
thank you.
thank you.
And it's not for definite, it's not the last time that you see me probably. So
No,
yes,
I love that. Well,
with you.
Anna's actually in Poland, right? You're in Poland?
Yes, I am.
And she and I chatted a little bit about the Polish market. I'm quite familiar with it. It's an interesting, very interesting space for board members. The average age of a board member in Poland is a lot younger than in the United States, probably around 10 to 15 years younger, because of the talent pool and the people that have been in corporations and have been exposed to international, business and things like that. So I think one of the questions we had was, how old do you need to be on a board? And it's definitely a different age group in Poland. Another thing is that it's quite a small community, because it's a smaller number of companies, right? Here I think we have just such a wide pool. Often we kind of focus in on our state or our city or somewhere like that, or just one industry. But in Poland, I think you can, if you tap into some of these networks, I think you can get into the right space quite quickly. So it's all around preparation and also just positioning yourself in the right audience.
Yeah. Indeed, and I think that I'm slowly but steady getting into there. So preparing my LinkedIn post now, because I've done quite a lot of work in the background. So now I'm tailoring the message. And with each of those meetings, I'm getting inspirations how to chisel it, how to make sure that it's short, concise, into point, and encouraging for people to connect with me, and how to make sure that I use right words, that if people are searching for certain, let's say, advisory or certain skill set for board membership, they're going to find it in my skill set and in my posts.
Yeah,
So
Another thing
slowly
I
but
would just
steady.
offer to everybody, if this is useful to you and if this serves you, in LeadHERship Global, we do have women that are extraordinarily talented at writing.
Yep.
They are award-winning book authors, copywriters, marketing writers, things like
Mhm.
that. So if that's useful to you, if anyone says, I really need help kind of reshaping my narrative, please know that we've got lots of resources in LeadHERship Global. And as a member, all you have to do is raise your hand and we'll get you connected. The other thing I just would love to offer is we have several members that are LinkedIn experts. I mean, these are women that are extraordinary at sort of recasting your profile in such a way that you are seen as not only a business leader, but a very, very attractive board advisor. So if that is something that's of interest to you, you want to sort of recast your presence on LinkedIn to have that kind of leadership presence, that kind of gravitas, that kind of impact in your LinkedIn profile, please, again, raise your hand. We have lots of people that can help you with that, that know also a lot of the tricks of the trade with LinkedIn. It's more than just having a really professional headshot, although that's a good first step. It really is about ensuring that you're showcasing yourself as a thought leader, as a problem solver, as someone that others turn to for advice and guidance on how to grow and scale a business, how to turn a business around. You need to position yourself in a slightly different way than just an operator of a business. And if you're interested in exploring those kinds of strategies, just know that we have lots of people in LeadHERship that are LinkedIn experts.
Okay. Okay. Now it's one more point for me to encourage to join the community. Thank you.
Yeah, and just on that, it's important to when you post on LinkedIn as well, and I'm sure Linda has access to people who can help you with that. What are the topics that you might want to think about? What are some of the topics that will get you noticed in some of those communities that you want to be in? I would also say, if you're in Poland, so join some of the groups online on LinkedIn that might be having discussions around things, board director type discussions. There probably are some groups that are there too. So that's important. And then when you post, any strong recommendations for LinkedIn groups around boards? I mean, there are all kinds of governance groups. You can learn a lot. There can be a lot of learnings, and people will share articles and things like that. I would just go to LinkedIn and search in the group section for things like board of directors or governance or things like that. And usually just find the largest group. That will be the most active, usually.
Mm-mm.
I mean, they're not always that active, and I don't think people see them that often, but that can be a good place to continue. The other thing I would say is, and this is probably, I think, probably quite obvious, but you need to continue to learn, and you need to continue to understand what's going on in the market. If you're
True.
retired and you're just not looking at anything anymore, your conversations are not going, you're not going to have anything to contribute to conversations. For those of you who are still working and still in the game, it's probably easy. You're probably just learning as you go. But for those who perhaps are not in a full-time role, I think it's important to continue to read and continue to learn about about all industries. And then when you meet with people, and we've said this already, but when you meet with people, ask some questions. What are you going through? What's your business going through? How are you dealing with whatever problem that everyone else is dealing with, right? So
Yep.
learn from others when you meet with them. And actually, Anna, that could be a good next step for you too, is to maybe, connect with some people, maybe through LinkedIn or something, who are local to you, and then maybe go out and have a coffee, have lunch, and then have, more of a conversation and ask them questions about their business.
Indeed. Indeed. Thank you.
Anyone else want to share any goals or plans that they have? The goals are really, really important. I feel like that's kind of the difference between what makes someone, achieve a goal or not, or achieve what they want to achieve or not. It's pretty simple, but writing them down, putting them in front of you, putting them on the whiteboard, right? Or having them so that they're very visible, makes it a lot easier to not, skip a few months and then go, oh, damn it, it's December. Now I just haven't done anything. I'll just forget about it and wait to January. That's another thing. Don't wait till January. That's a terrible idea. And everyone says, well, I'm getting busy and things. One person per month. That's all you need to do. One coffee, even a Zoom, right? At a minimum. And if you talk to one person per month for the rest of the year, that would be probably 3, maybe 4 more people than you had spoken to before. So now you've got 4 more people on your list. So it's really important. And of course, keep that list up to date. Monitor the number of people, monitor the people you're speaking to, keep track of what's going on. And do not give up. There's a great slide I have. I'm sure you've all seen it. It's a picture of a guy who's got a pick, right? And he's sort of going through the cave and he's kind of picking through this cave. And he gets to a point, he just turns around and says, I'm done. I haven't found anything in this cave. I'm going to go back. And he's about, this far away from the diamonds or the gold or whatever it was that he was looking for, right? And he just said, you know what, I'm done. And I feel like that's sometimes the case with people in their board careers. It's the moment when they say, you know what, I'm done with this, that the opportunity could have been right there. And to Valerie's point and Sarah's point, Laura and Linda, make yourself visible, get out there, any opportunity that you can to engage with your existing network and then to build on a new one. And LeadHERship and such an amazing group to do that. They have virtual meetings, in-person meetings. I think you have retreats coming up as well in Roatan and all kinds of things. So and I actually I personally think the in-person is where the real relationship is built. All of us here today, there's some of you I've actually met in person, so we actually know each other, right? And you feel a better connection. It's always the way with people. So anytime that you can build that relationship, I think it's really important. So we are wrapping up this program, and I think, yep, never give up. It's true, never give up. Thanks for sharing that, Linda. Any final words, or would you like to tell us more about some of these in-person events that are going on as well with LeadHERship and other organizations?
Yeah, I would just say if any of you are interested in connecting with LeadHERship Global, which is exclusively for women in positions of leadership all over the world, or our sister organization for guys like Rich and Hajo and Terry. Really happy to introduce you to our, I call them a sister organization, but maybe I should say our brother organization, because they welcome both men and women in positions of leadership. It's called the C-Suite Network. So the C-Suite Network, together with LeadHERship Global, are in partnership, and our, I think, really joint vision, mission, and purpose is to accelerate the success of men and women in positions of influence and leadership. And part of that is corporate board service. Part of that is helping you grow and scale your business. Some of that is helping you raise your visibility and extend your thought leadership across media platforms, across stages, across platforms of all sorts and sizes. So if those are the kinds of goals that you're looking at in the fourth quarter of this year or next year, please don't hesitate to just reach out and we'll just have a conversation. What we do in LeadHERship Global and our partner organization, the C-Suite Network, is we help you accelerate your success based on how you define success. And so again, if you want to be on a TEDx stage, you want to be on in front of TV cameras and microphones, we can help you with that. If you want to 10 times the growth and scale of your business, we can help you with that. If you simply want to expand your network globally for all the reasons Naomi so eloquently outlined, because really it is about who you know, but more importantly, who knows you, that makes all the difference. It's not necessarily all the names on your LinkedIn profile. It's who will go to bat for you, who will speak your name in rooms that you're not in, who will sponsor you, mentor you, champion you, advocate for you, even when you're not there. That's the community that we've built in LeadHERship Global and C-Suite Network. So if that's of use to you, as you look at the fourth quarter of this year or 2026, please don't hesitate to get in touch. Again, it's not a sales call. It's just simply an understanding of strategically what are you trying to accomplish and how can we help you. And I obviously cannot recommend Naomi Kent any more strongly when it comes to board guidance, right? She is absolutely an expert in all things helping. If you're a CEO trying to create a board, if you're a CEO trying to revamp a board, if you are a CEO trying to think about how to repurpose your board, Naomi's your girl. But if you're also looking at ways of being on those very elusive, high profile boards that, everyone thinks about and dreams of, if anyone can guide you in the right direction, it's Naomi. So if you want to be a board member, if you want to determine which board is best for you, if you want to tap into her Rolodex, she knows everybody in the world. You've heard 6 degrees of separation. Naomi is like 1 degree of separation from everyone. So if you want to tap into that knowledge, that incredible Rolodex, that incredible expertise, I can't recommend Naomi more highly. She really is a true expert. Naomi, I really want to acknowledge you and thank you for so generously sharing your knowledge and expertise. And honestly, being a truth teller, like some of the things we've talked about aren't necessarily easy to hear. We'd all like to, wave a magic wand and say, oh, here are the 3 steps you need to take to get on a board. Easy peasy, 6 months, you'll get it done. Everybody can expect their board in 6 months if you follow these 3 steps. Well, that's not always the case. And so I love the fact that Naomi has been a straight shooter about, hey, here's the best way to stack the odds in your favor. Here are all the things that you need to do and take ownership and accountability of. But some of this is really going to take a bit of hard work if you consider networking hard work. So I would just say thank you, Naomi, for being so incredibly transparent, so candid, and empowering at the same time. So really appreciate you and appreciate everybody that's been a part of this series over the last 6 months.
Thank you, Linda. And no, I don't know Kevin Bacon, but I know a few people. But no, I appreciate it. And if there's anything I can do for anyone, or if they have any, you haven't wanted to sort of share anything on today's call because we have a group of people here in the room, and there is something that's bothering you, you're just not sure about how to get ahead, then definitely let me know. But I know there's a couple of people here that I'll see next month, so in person, and I hope to see a lot of you in person as well at some point. So wonderful. Thanks very much, Linda, and thanks everyone for your participation.
Thank you. We'll speak to you hopefully at another event this week or next. So thank you, everyone. We'll see you soon.
Thank you.